big part of my life, I was fighting to win, being egocentric, being tough. But after the last third of my life, I'm thinking about winning without a fight. That's give me the same sense of being a warrior. Just give me the different strategy to apply with. Winning without a fight is simple, is more effective than just fight to win. So for me now, I just delighted and happy and motivated to win without a fight every challenge in my life.
You are listening to the new man beyond the Macho Jerk and the New Age Wimp. Your host is men's coach Tripp Lanier.
Is a lack of confidence your worst enemy? What does it mean to develop mental, emotional, and spiritual strength? And how does accepting death make you stronger? Jiu-Jitsu legend Rickson Gracie returns to the new man, and we dive into the deeper topics from his new book with Peter McGuire called Comfort in Darkness. Rickson wasn't just a devastating opponent in the ring. He's also a teacher that draws from a deep well of wisdom and intuition. He goes far beyond the mechanics and fundamentals to help others face their fears so that they can discover just how strong and capable they are. Today, we discuss what he calls invisible Jiu Jitsu and how we can all utilize it to become mentally, emotionally, and spiritually powerful. All right, so this new one, Comfort in Darkness, the story, at least in the book, how you, the first time I remember you using this phrase, comfort in darkness, comes after your first fight with King Zulu. Yes. And I was wondering if you could walk us through, even though you won that fight, you still thought you needed to come home and face something. Could you walk us through that?
Yes, for me, it was a tremendous experience because I was 19 years old. And somehow my dad arranged for me a fight with this guy in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, which is a super professional, 45 pounds heavier than me, and 31 years old, with 120 fights, with just 4 draws and so many victories. So the guy was a very good professional, tough guy. As my father calls, he talked with his manager on the phone, and his manager asked for him to see if he has somebody to fight. My father said, "No, I don't have nobody here to practice." So, and then I catch the phone call and said, "Dad, pull me in. And my dad looked at me and he mentioned to the guy, "Hey, I have my son here with 19 years old. He likes to experiment." And then the guy said, no, he's too young, he's too new. It's not a good fight for him. As the guy tried to take my dad out of the deal, my dad gets more excited to pull me in. So eventually he kind of closed the deal for me to fight Zulu. And for me, it was a great experience. I was very excited. I was on top of my game. And never experienced MMA before, like no holds bar before and on the ring. So the day come, I fight the guy. Right on the beginning of the action, he coming for his trademark move, which is grab you under the legs and lift you up and throw you on the ground. So as he tried to approach that, I moved back and hit him with the knee right on his face, which in my mind, I felt like I won the fight because it was a perfect hit with all my power. He just stood up, shook his hand, spit a tooth, and come back like nothing happened. And I was very impressed with that. I was, wow, that's going to be harder than I thought. So, and then the first 10 minutes, it was 3 rounds, 10 minutes each. So the first 10 minutes was just back and forth. And when the round was over, I was not having power to walk toward my corner. I crawled to my corner and said, "Dad, I'm exhausted. Let's call the fight. I stopped the fight. I cannot go back there." And my dad even listened to me. Said, "Oh, you're doing great. You're going to kick his ass now. He's tired than you. You're going to do good." So, Dad, I'm serious. I don't want to fight. I'm too tired. He said, "No, you're going to go." So as I tried to debate with my dad about not going back there, my brother Holz threw me a bucket of ice and water in my head. So as I'm breathing, the bell rings, they push me in, and I start again. So as my dad told me, he was already more tired than me. He could not recover as fast. And I could capitalize, and eventually 3 minutes from the fight, I was already putting him to sleep in a chokehold. So my dad was right. I was wrong because I was not believing in myself. I was not having that experience which give me go above my reason and transfer all this to a powerful state of no fear. So I was not in control of myself at that point. And I felt like even though I won, I also have to redo my life, my strategy, because the way I was putting the worst enemy on that fight was my mind. And I have to deal with that in a very serious way, because I cannot have my mind against me every time I have something serious to do. So at that point, I decided to not obey in my mind anymore in terms of fear, and be completely 100% forward in any challenge I commit myself. So I started putting my life on the edge. I said, I prefer to die than quit. I prefer to do something fully than just do partially. So the idea of being 100% myself, I'm very grateful about this opportunity, that experience, because I really, after that, could combine my mindset with my physicality, with my spirituality in one direction, which is quit is not an option. And either you do what you have to do, or you die trying. But was like I unified myself in a very powerful way after that. And I never have problems with fear or anticipations or doubts anymore. I was just moving forward after that.
Was this also the time where you told your brother to wrap you up into a carpet and keep you there no matter how hard you screamed?
Yeah, this was a few years before. With like 12 to 13 years old, I was sparring with men in a group class. And of course, a 13-year-old kid doesn't have the same strength than I. So a blue belt get me in a headlock is a very uncomfortable situation. Not exactly a technical submission, but it's a grab, which if the guy insists on the grab, you can feel panic, you can feel claustrophobic, you can even tap from that. And that's what I did. I was not able to escape. I get panic. So the agonizing claustrophobic feeling make me tap. And I get very upset with that, because it was not the technique, was not the pressure, was just like the suffocating. So I felt like it was my mistake. So I back home, asked my brother Holz I stretch myself on the edge of a carpet and tell him to roll me as a burrito. So I get rolled in the carpet, and for 10 minutes I stay there, ask him to don't let me go. And at first I was a little claustrophobic, feelings, the smelling bad of the carpet, the 190 degrees humid in Brazil. So it was very hot and humid, so I was very uncomfortable. And then after I start to putting myself in a zone, start thinking about seagulls, wind on the beach, birds flying, be peaceful. And I was able to handle the 10 minutes on the carpet. And then my brother unfolded me. And in the same year, I did 4 more times that same protocol to feel comfortable. And the very last time I did, I was rolling in, rolling out without no problems, just keeping calm and comfortable. So somehow it was a wild way to kill my claustrophobic feelings. After that, I learned with Orlando Cane the protocol called biogymnastica, which gives you the sense of how to use the diaphragmatic breathing. He is a yoga teacher. He's a a pentathlon champion, so he was an athlete. So he gave me tips about how to use my breathing to recover from tiredness, to be calm spiritually, to be controlled. The lung has the capacity to connect with your brain and your heart. And the brain and the heart are the only organs in yourself who can give and receive information. So if you get stressed and you read an email and you get stressed, through a good protocol of breathing, you can calm yourself down, and the email is not going to have the same negative impact than you just somatize and become like stress all day. So through breathing, you can really make yourself comfortable. Same thing if you're in a very active sport activity. If you know how to breathe, you're going to cope with the ability to do it, and you're going to recover much faster. So you see today, for example, in the modern tennis, they do so they combine the breathing with the strike. So that's make them be a stronger striker and faster recovery, because the breathing is in harmony with the effort. So for every activity you do, no matter if you play soccer, no matter if you play tennis, you surf, you do jiu-jitsu, you're going to have a perfect way to breathe, to maximize your recovery. So, and I learned this very quick in my life, and I was able to add this on all my career as a fighter. And I felt like this gave me a beautiful edge over other fighters who coming very well prepared, but don't know how to deal with the diaphragmatic breathing. So at one point, they need recovery, they need stop to breathe. And I was capitalizing a lot on that moment of agonizing for them. So breathing has always been a great ally for my endeavors.
You talk about the mental, you talk about the physical, and then there's the spiritual component. Being spiritually prepared, whether you're going into a fight, going into some other challenge in your life. What does it mean for you to be spiritually prepared?
Yes, I believe we always in life deal with challenges, problems, stresses, conquering. So life is not easy. And martial arts give you the sense of the military way to deal things, which I believe is the best way for you to relate yourself with a challenge. Because the military strategy make you feel strategy. You have to calculate everything. You have to have tools for the warrior, which more protocols you follow as a warrior, more chances you are to win your battle. And today, even to be happy, you have to be in a challenge mode, because happiness doesn't sit on your lap. You have to conquer happiness. You have to work to be happy. So if you use a strategy to be happy, you're going to be happier. If you use discipline, if you use timing, if you use connection, if you use base, all those elements within martial arts, they can serve as a metaphor for life. So I believe today, because I live my life as a high-performance athlete, and then I get hurt, I stop competing, I get older, and I still motivated to teach. Eventually, I get Parkinson. So now, in my state of life, I've been using very much my tools, my spiritual warrior tools, which are hope, faith, and other aspects of being in control of your life. So being in emotional control, being in using faith, using spirituality, using patience, using acceptance, all those tools, they are important for the warrior, because patience, for example, patience is a virtue. Passivity is a defect. So you cannot be passive and allow the opportunities to pass through your life. But if you're patient, you're going to strike in the right moment. The lion, for example, is behind the bushes waiting for the zebra, giving him the striking distance. So he's patiently waiting for the kill. So sometimes you work with your patience, sometimes you work your strategy, sometimes you work your emotional control, your breathing, your capacity to accept things, because if you have a problem, you have to deal with the problem at the best ways possible to fix. But if the problem has no solution, you have to accept and move on, because it doesn't work for you to be struggle something you cannot resolve.
That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you, is that you talk about there's a willingness to accept any possible outcome. And this can seem like a paradox, that if I'm driven to win and I'm visualizing my win, I'm visualizing my goal, and I'm so determined, as you said, I'm not going to quit. And then on the other end is, okay, but I'm also willing to accept any outcome. I can imagine that's really confusing for some people, but you find great strength in that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Visualization is a tool for the warrior. You have to visualize in good times, in a war, bad times, suffering. So you have to pass through all the experience in your mind to feel comfortable if things happen. So it's not going to be a surprise. It's going to be something you already anticipated. And if you're really honest with yourself, you have to anticipate get shot in the head. Accepting the death, making them feel more comfortable to keeping their focus on what they have to do. So the acceptance, a fireman to save a kid from the 10th story of a building, he have in his visualizations accept death when he tried to save a kid. If he's not completely comfortable with the possibility of death, he don't want to die, but he has to know, I'm in a position to save the kid, but I'm at risk to die myself. So it's worth it. So that at this point becomes worth it, because you maximizing your job, your mission, your love, your passion, your character. So for me, being allowed myself to die for what I love, make me feel stronger, make me feel happier. So Parkinson, for example, was the newest trend in my life. I accept this as just an enemy, just a normal enemy, a next fight to do. So since I get diagnosed with Parkinson, I changed a lot of protocols. I stopped eating meat. I stopped drinking eventually beers and wines. I started taking so many supplements. I doing fasting. So everything I could do in myself, I triple my physiotherapy exercise. So in my mind, I want to beat Parkinson. I'm not sure if it's going to be possible. But in my mind, is no quitting, is no, oh, now I have this. So I get motivated now to teach more invisible jiu-jitsu than ever before. So I'm not going to teach the practical, how to pass the guard or how to choke somebody. But I'm going to teach how to feel comfortable in hell. I'm going to teach you how to feel solid in your base, in your balance, how to recover your balance. So a lot of connection movement. So a lot of understanding of the invisible aspects of jiu-jitsu. I've been very happy and proud to pass, especially because now my physicality fades away a little bit. So the idea of being a spiritual warrior enhances your capacity to live the now. Spending time now is so important, and people today become dehumanizing, become in the internet, become in the virtual universe. And it's hard to live the now. So my motivation today to teach jiu-jitsu is greater, because I'm not teaching people how to fight. I teach people how to feel the energy, feel their balance, feel their breathing. And that's coming from inside, not to make them fighters, but to make them spiritual warriors, where they can have better chances to act in life in many different families, work, socialization with other people. So jiu-jitsu is a very good metaphor for life. And as you start to practice and getting those details, you start to become more familiar with the feelings and what passes through your mind when you have to win or have to lose or have to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
There's a story in the book that when I read it, how you were teaching a young man, I saw the image of a warrior, but I also saw the image of a medicine man. I saw the image of a curandero.
Yeah.
Somebody that you in the situation was that you were grappling with him, and you, at least the way I took it, was that you sensed or you intuited his weakness, and you found a place to hold him in what he called, or you called, 5 minutes of hell.
Yeah.
And he said at the end of that, it was the greatest jiu-jitsu lesson of his life. And I'm wondering if you can talk a bit, because I think this is what we're really talking about with Invisible Jiu Jitsu, which is helping us confront these places within us that we may never really get to, but nonetheless, there's great power and peace on the other side. How did you get to this place where you have that sensitivity and then to use it for healing, not just to defeat someone?
With 13 years old, I decided to stop studying and start to focus on jiu-jitsu. And I asked my dad about that. I said, Dad, I want to be a jiu-jitsu professional. I don't want to go to school anymore. I hate to go to school. Then he said, if you don't want to go to school, I cannot force you that, because even myself, I just went for the first years in school, and then I have to help my dad to do things, and I stopped studying. So I cannot force you to study. But I'm not going to give you more money. So you're going to make your own money, and when you have 18 years old, I'm going to kick you out of the house. I'm going to give you food and bed until you make 18. I said, great, Dad, thank you very much. And I went to my brothers. My brothers, he teaches at our school. So I went to my brother and said, Horion, can I help you to teach classes and you give me some money on the weekends? He said, sure. So I started helping my brother. And then like 6 months after that, I asked my dad, said, Dad, how I can do to become the best professor I can be? And he said to me, if you want to be a good teacher, just know the position very well and try to pass the position in layers of knowledge for the guy gets used to do it and practice and become a good execution. But if you want to be an excellent teacher, you have to try to figure out what the students need to learn. With that comment, he made me feel like professor/psychologist, because I start to understand the student based on what he showed me. If he's tense, if he's relaxed, if he's overconfident, he's a cocky. So I start to understand the guy and start to approaching my class based and, hey man, relax, just breathe a little bit. So I start to approaching accordingly with what I felt from the student. In that sense of be directly to the student, not a group, but you tense, you uncomfortable, you aggressive, the other guy is passive, is kind of lazy. So each one I have to address differently. For you, I say, come up, put your hands up, don't let me touch your... So for the other guys, I say, hey, calm down, man, breathe, wait for it. So I have to be personal. Even though it's a group class, people training, I have to be personal with each student. And that's going to start to give me the sense of how important it is to see the guy not only as a force and training and practice and moves and sweeps and chokes, but emotionally, how much panic he has, how much comfortable he has, how much passivity he has, how much sharp he needs to be, how much excited he is and needs to become. So I start to see the emotional, the mental, not only the physical and the execution of techniques. So that's lead me to a different sensitivity and lead me to a different approach to the students and to my own jiu-jitsu, because the people who needs the most jiu-jitsu is the weakest. The weakest people is the ones who needs the most. So if I focus on making champions, I will focus on don't giving attention to the weak ones, because I have to enhance the strong ones. If I have to just thinking about the weak, how I can make champions if I'm just thinking about defense and survival movement? So my combination, my idea of allow the champions to become champions and force them to the max, but protect my weak ones and let them feel like they can be like them in the future. But now it's time for you to enhance your powers here and there. So make me feel comfortable in both worlds, in the worlds who needs completely help, and the worlds who needs technique and support to achieve their goals, because those guys here, they're already champions in their heart. When you have a student who's a super talented and have courage and toughness, he's already coming with 50% of what he needs to be. I just gonna complete him with techniques. But if the guy is weak, very shy, very weak in mental and all the aspects, I have to enhance their knowledge for them to feel better. So regardless, for the champion, he's going to get 500% better and going to kick ass. For the weak one, he's going to have 500% and just going to walk around normally and look to the people with just more comfortable eyes. He's not going to be a tough guy, but he's going to know he has a chance to survive, to protect his family. So in both ways, I make a great job, but the reach for them will depend on their own personal attributes.
Speaking about intuition, a lot of us don't trust intuition. We want strategies. We want plans. We want to be able to control the future. But intuition is about turning inward. And I'm curious how that plays in here, that developing that kind of sensitivity as well.
Yeah, for me, when you start to become comfortable in your brain, when you start to become comfortable in meditation, when you start to become comfortable with visualizations, regardless what you visualize, you're not losing your temper, you're not getting claustrophobic. If you imagine yourself in the bath of ice, if you imagine yourself on the edge of a cliff, if you imagine yourself, falling from an airplane, so whatever you imagine yourself, you have to feel like you're in a position to be comfortable. And that's give you the sense of and the ability to deal different positions and different angles in your life. So being uncomfortable means you understand yourself fully and not letting yourself fall in your negative mindset. So being positive, being responsive to the now, being accepting the reality. All this is a composition which comes from different practices, different things, but eventually you find yourself following the pattern of which I did. Like the triangle of jiu-jitsu is the demonstration of a perfect balance. Geometric triangle never falls off balance. But for me, the triangle means not only the perfect balance, but also the combination between body, mind, spirit. So if I want to feel good, I have to check my body, how I feel physically. I have to check my mind, how I feel like stress emotionally, how I feel like comfortable in my mind, and how I feel spiritually, my capacity to surrender my destiny, my capacity to accept the outcome, my capacity to have projecting hope and faith for the future, being positive. So spiritually speaking, you have to be willing to embrace happiness, not sadness. Because the spiritual never give up, never dies, never. So you have to follow your spirit to to get benefits from it. So you have to hope, you have to be faithful, you have to be grateful. You have to just be sharp on your attention to how you can let it go, how to say no, how to be in peace of mind. So that balance creates a perfect understanding of how to live life, even if you're in a war stage or if you're peaceful stage, if you want to raise your kids. Everything in life has a challenge, has a work to be done. And if you obey this idea of I have a problem, I have something to resolve, I'm going to use my strategy to make what's the best approach for me to resolve the problem. How much I have to do my spirituality on this, because for the Vietnamese, against the U.S., against America, the only thing they have is hope and courage. They don't have bullets, they don't have ammunition, they don't have armies, but they resist and survive the armies from America. And eventually they end up by winning the war, just because they're resilient, they're patient, they accept death. So they are very good spiritually. Physically, they are very weak, but they still won. So I believe that combination between mind, body, spirit, if you start to be connected with those elements, you become much more comfortable in dealing with life.
I think one of the ways that you illustrate this beautifully in the book was discussing the fight you had with, I think it's pronounced Funaki. You were 10 years younger, and 40 pounds. He was 40 pounds heavier than you, and he landed a punch that broke the bones in your orbital socket. You went blind temporarily, and you had to switch strategies there. Can you tell us a little bit about that moment and how you had to switch from the lion to the rat, as you say?
Yes, because for a fight, it's very important to become sharp and a killer like a lion, but sometimes you have to survive like a rat. So I felt like the point I get blind, I fall on the floor and the guy just kicked me on the legs. And the Tokyo Dome with 70,000 people fully crowded, every time he kicks, the whole crowd, oh. And he didn't know I have problems in my eye. My brother didn't know. So my brother said, stand up, what are you doing? So just me know I have problems in my eyes. So I could not even put my hand on my face because I don't want to show I hurt. So I keep looking to the guy with poker face. He keep kicking me. The crowd is still wild. My brother told me to stand up, and myself calm and said, I cannot stand up. I have to handle here a little bit. So I was playing my own strategy. Regardless what everybody thinks of me, I was there just waiting. So 45 seconds after this damage, my eye is still bad, but the other eye starts to getting a sight. From that point, I recoup one eye sight. I go back to the offense, hurt his knee, stood up, put him down, mount, punch him a little bit. He turns around and I choke him out. But nobody knew the problem I have. So the idea of being capable to control my emotions, to be able to use the best strategy possible for the moment, was something I visualizing all my life. And I never had the opportunity to use that. But in my visualizations for every fight, I always think about today is a good day to win a fight. I'm glad to be here representing the family and the art. But if I have to die, it's gonna be the best day for die too, because I got a good reason for that. So I have my mind open to anything. And when the things happen for real, I was completely calm under pressure to make my decisions, because I've been there before, I was just thinking about that. And then just happens, which give me the calmness and the precision to let the storm pass a little bit and then capitalize on the future. So the idea of having the mindset ready to act, coming from the tools of visualization and preparedness you should have under any circumstance, as a father, as a friend, as an employee, as an employer. So you always have to visualize your position in life to be able to live the moment who will present now with the certainty as you've been there before. The experience will give you that feeling of be able to handle pressure.
You talk about other fighters that you admired, and you talk about the importance of keeping the taste of defeat in your mouth. Keeping the taste of defeat in your mouth. What did that do for you? You were undefeated. Your record was undefeated. And so what was the purpose of keeping the taste of defeat in your mouth?
So when you become a champion, naturally, you become a champion and you say, now I'm the champion. what is my props, what is my money, what is the girls, what is the parties, what is my next fight for double the money. So you start to putting yourself as a champion in a comfortable position. You're not hungry for more. You pretty much want to establish what you have. For me, I felt like this was a negative thought. I cannot thinking about being the champion. I never fought everybody, I just fought few people. So to prove myself as a champion, I have to stay there until I die. So every fight I do give me some kind of good sense of victory. But at the same time, when I finished the fight, I was not celebrating too much because I felt like just one more, and next day or next month or next week, somebody can come in through my door and fight me again. So I'm not here celebrating like it's the end of the days and I finish, I'm retired. No, I just wanted this fight, so I show her respect. I don't even celebrate too much my victories. And that gave me the sense of every fight is a fight which I have to take all the respect. And when I come back to the academy to practice, instead, because among my students, I have very tough students, but I could win them all with no problems. So if I keep practicing with them, winning them all, I feel like I don't have to sharpen my knife anymore. I already said. So what I was doing is I line up everybody, said, today is going to be a footlock day. I just going to win you guys on the footlock on the right leg. Or I just going to choke you from the back. Or I just going to sweep you and get you from the mount choke. So I was letting them know what happens. So if you know what's going to happen, you're going to be much more willing to be sharp and defend yourself. So that's make my training 10 times harder. 1 minute, so let's suppose I train with 20 guys. I could kick 10 guys' ass, but the other 10 will give me a hard time. Eventually, 1 or 2 could pass the minute without tapping. So how I feel about that? I feel sad, I feel pissed off because I was very competitive. So I always leave this taste of, I should do a little better. I should get this guy in 15 seconds, not 20 seconds. So I was very precise to putting my sharpness, my tightness, my space, my timing better because I was making the harder training for me. Sometimes I said, okay, I'm going to train with everybody for 3 minutes. The first minute will be 2 hands on the belt, trap in my hand. The second minute, I'm going to take 1 arm. And the third minute, I'm going to take 2 arms to try to submit. So if you don't tap for the 3 minutes, you win. So a lot of people, few people I could submit just with my legs. Another few people I could submit with 1 arm. So getting 2 minutes. And then the very tough guys I could submit on the 3rd minute. But maybe 1 or 2 will survive this 3rd minute. And I'm going to go back home pissed at how I could let the guys. So I was preparing myself to feel like this sour taste in my mouth. Even though what I'm trying to do is impossible, I was fighting against the impossible because if you have easy time, you're going to make soft people. So hard times make hard people. So I was putting myself at hardest times for me, even though I was a champion, I putting myself as a warrior only. And having the hardest time for me to not ever underestimate my opponents.
I think that there's a theme throughout this book, which is not looking to escape challenge. And yet that is a theme in our lives, especially in our cushy Western lives, is that we're trying to escape challenge. We're trying to focus on greater comfort, greater certainty, greater acceptance to a large degree. I'm not sure if people recognize that even though you would go have these professional bouts, these professional fights, at any time somebody could come into your gym and challenge you to a fight and you would accept. Is that correct? Do I understand that correctly?
It's correct, yes.
Okay, so that meant that you always had to be ready. There was not an off season for you.
No.
That you were always prepared with your diet, with your fitness, with your recovery to address anybody that came through the door and said that they wanted to fight you.
Yes, that's true.
So here we are, we're entering into this phase of your life, and now Parkinson's is, you said, your latest trend, and you're approaching it with this same mentality.
Yes, but with
Yeah.
a very interesting difference. In big part of my life, I was fighting to win. So I have reasons and questions and solutions to fight for win. But after maybe the last third of my life, I'm thinking about winning without a fight. That's give me the same sense of being a warrior. Just give me the different strategy to apply with. For example, I'm leaving with my wife from the movie theater, have to walk 10 minutes to get my car on the parking lot. But here has a road which gonna take me 5 minutes from my walk. As I get into this alley, I find a bunch of 20 guys, gangbangers, drinking, doing things, like making noise in the middle of the alley. I say to my wife, sweetheart, let's go back to the original way. I don't want to go there and show my ego and passing through the guys like I'm tough. They can jeopardizing my health. They can beat my wife and rape it. They can be crazy things if I don't anticipate the dangers and don't escape and don't go to that. So move in the direction and go back to the 10 minutes walk, make me win without a fight. So today I still a warrior. I just want to save myself from problems. So for me, it's worth it. Apologize sometimes. Then actually say, hey, you doing this and so. Depending the mission, depending the work, depending the situation, winning without a fight is simple, is more effective than just fight to win. So being egocentric, being tough, you can be a champion. Another day, we have a world champion in jiu-jitsu, very tough fighter, very good competitor, who got killed with shot on the head, the nightclub in Brazil. Because the guy tried to provoke him, the guy already wanted to kill him. And the guy just provoked him, taking his beer over the table. He fought the guy, and his friend came and shot him in the head. So they already premeditating that situation. But the guy was a champion. He knew for sure he could kick anyone's ass in the nightclub. Why he should prove himself, oh, I want to beat the guy, on an environment he's not having control. Because one thing is to have control of the environment on the ring, on the mat, so you can do the rules. But on the street, there's no rules. He should anticipate if the guy was trying to fight him, some problem will come with, because some friend can be stabbing him in the back, he can be thrown to jail, he can be prosecuted. Even if he beat the guy on the street, he's going to be prosecuted and maybe go to jail for that because he's a lethal weapon. So it's no victory in some kind of demonstrations of violence. So for me now, I just delighted and happy and motivated to win without a fight every challenge in my life.
You talk about the power of loving our opponents, and you say that freedom and forgiveness walk hand in hand. And you've had a lot of opponents over the years. Tell me about this, how you come to this place where you can find your open heart against folks or foes or whomever that have crossed you and caused you pain.
Yeah, I believe the opponents, they give me a good knowledge. Somehow they have an honest desire to debate, to fight, to compete, to check themselves. And I feel like all this honest, valuable, and I appreciate, because we all in the same boat. We all want to prove who is the best fighter or can do this and that. So my opponents, I don't feel like they are my enemies. Very few, they go in the personal to become my enemy. And soon I kick his ass and we get in a good mood, we become friends. So the majority of the guys who fought me through life, today we have friendship and respect, because we did what we have to do, and whatever wins is okay. But Now we have respect to each other. We have friendship. We're happy to remember the old times and the efforts we did. But now the idea is to use all this as experience to bring to the youngsters that life, that experience, and make them feel like you can be fighting somebody in a very dignifying way, in a very honest way. You can get in a battle for a professional battle or a dispute. Doesn't have to be negative or something which is dark. So the challenge, the fight, everything has to be honest and open and clear. And after the fight, you have to accept the destiny of winning or defeat and go from there. So that can work in profession, that can work in family, relationships. So you have to know how to use your elements to be positive and how to forgive, because sometimes forgiveness, I don't forgive somebody who hurt me because he needs my forgiveness. I forgive somebody who hurt me because I need be freedom from the anger or the obsession of, oh, this guy, I'm never going to forgive. So every time I think about John, I'm going to come in burning my head and feel hate, feel anger. So that's negative for me. That's kill myself. So I say, John, I don't care about John. Let him go. Life will take care of him. So I forgive him. I'm not forget him. And I'm not going to allow the things to happen again. I'm not going to be able to forgive him in a sense to bring him to my life again. I forgive in a sense for not having emotions towards him. So that's kind of free myself from the burden of having to, oh, the guy, oh, he needs what he's doing. Let's do this. My attention is, I'm free from that negative attention and open myself to what is really matters in my life.
Well, Rickson, our time is up. It's been so great
It's always great to see you, my brother.
Yeah, great to visit with you again. Congrats on the new book. And
Thank you.
So great to have you closer to, at least where I live. Maybe we'll get a chance to meet in person sometime.
Yes, let's get some fish barbecue sometime.
I would love that.
God bless, my brother.
Much
Thank
love,
you
buddy.
very much.
Yes, sir.
You too, man. God bless. Ciao.
If these interviews are helping you, please leave a positive review on whatever podcast app you use so that others can discover the show more easily.